we're back. This is Kiss and Tell Magazine, Dr. Jenny, and we're here to talk about anything and everything because it's Kiss and Tell, right? So our guest today is Dr. Donna. Welcome, Dr. Donna.
Thank you for having me.
I'm glad you're here. So let's talk about what's been going on for you.
I feel like everything and nothing all at once.
Yeah.
But my book did come out in May. Drink Water and Mind Your Business, A Black Woman's Guide to Unlearning the BS and Healing Self-Esteem. So I've been all about that right now. It's like my little book baby. So it requires a lot of attention.
So tell our viewers, because most of our subscribers so far are men.
Mm.
And I don't have the like breakdown, but most of them are men so far. So do you think that men would benefit from reading your book?
I believe that anybody who has been impacted by any of the isms in life, they could benefit from this book.
Yeah.
Because some of the BS that I'm talking about unlearning is white supremacy, it's male supremacy, it's capitalism, all the things that sort of stand between you and your self-esteem.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot of stories that they're telling us about how we're supposed to do self-esteem,
Mhm.
including that if you don't have it, that you failed, that you're the one that messed up, et cetera, et cetera. And if you think that you're supposed to create self-esteem based off what's in your wallet or who's on your arm, then I think that, yeah, this book is still for you. You're just not centered, but it's still for you.
Good. So, what they would learn from that is your journey, or would they learn like tools from reading?
They'll get tools. I mean,
Uh-huh.
I do like to spill a little tea, so some of my information is in there,
Yeah.
but the majority of it is certainly tools. The book is broken up into two parts. So mind over matter and then mind your matter.
Uh-huh.
So mind over matter is understanding what the concern is. Like, what's the problem? Like, why is self-esteem so hard for so many people to manage? I'm like, at that point, if it's so many people that are having a problem with it, it's not an individual problem, it's a systemic issue. And sometimes we do not call a spade a spade. So I'm calling it what it is. It's a systemic issue.
Right.
The second part of the book is about actually doing the work.
Uh-huh.
So it is divided in that way because I mean, I feel like most therapists would say that like if you don't know the full scope of the problem, it's very difficult for you to solve it. So the first
Right.
half of the book is let's have an understanding of the problem. Let's define what the thing is, and then the second part is let's get to work.
So, aside from the book, which we're going to put a link to your book part of this, but aside from the book, tell the audience what else you do.
Oh, I'm a sex and relationship therapist in the Washington, D.C. metro area. I like to say I help Black women feel free, fabulous, and effed. Right now, the majority of my work is probably in therapy. So I'm doing therapy. I do some education, like when I'm invited to come speak somewhere or to do a training, I'll do that. Um, but also, I feel like I'm at a time in my life where I've been pivoting. So I'm trying to see what's next. Like I feel like I have an idea, but not a full understanding. So I'm just sort of moving with the flow of life while recognizing my own desires and even some of my limitations at this time.
Right. And if I'm not mistaken, do I not see your book, a copy of your book behind you?
That
Yeah,
is.
can you show it to the audience?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Nice. Nice.
I know, it's a very cute book, my little
It
book bag.
is. Well, what I like about it is you make it simple and easy to read. I mean, just a little bit. I admit I haven't read the whole book, but what I have read, it is easy to follow.
Yeah, I'm
You-
definitely at the space of if you can't explain it simply, then you don't understand it.
Right.
And quite frankly, it's a book is completely useless if people can't pick it up and understand what they've read.
Right.
If there's too many hoops to jump through, that's not what I'm not like number one. I think that some people want to show how smart they are on the page, and I understand that like do what you want to do.
Right.
And note that it's if the book doesn't reach the audience that you intend, then it's a useless book. It's
Mhm.
just paper with ink. It's but it's of no use to anybody.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't know, it's one of those things that people have said pretty consistently, not just about this book, but just in general, that I explain things in a way that other people can understand without making anyone feel stupid. And I'm trying to figure out, well, why would I be out setting out to make people feel stupid? It doesn't make any sense to me. Everybody
Right.
doesn't know everything. We all have our lanes. We know what we know. And when you know it, you share it with other people. But if the whole point is so that you can feel better about yourself, then for me, that's a place to sit and question about whether or not you've been drinking your water and minding your business. If the only way for you to feel good about yourself is for somebody else to be in a one down position.
Right. Good. That's a wonderful way of saying it. I mean, there is too much of this one-upman thing, and I don't know if we're doing it to prove a point. Sometimes we're competing, and we're competing for what exactly? Most of us don't realize why we're competing. I mean, I'm talking about not in games. I mean, if you're playing a game, you're competing because,
Yeah.
it's about winning, whether it's baseball, whatever. So, well, even if it's playing cards, blackjack or something,
Yeah.
that is a whole different thing. But competing when you're in a room full of people and you're just conversing, and then there's people saying, "Oh, I'm smarter than you. Oh, I'm better than you." That's not helping anything. How is that helping you as a person or the other person? You know, so
I agree with you. It's
yeah,
not helpful. And I think that we have, in many ways, turned everyday life into a competition.
yeah.
And that, I mean, that happens when someone is spouting off nonsense about scarcity, saying that there's not enough of something to go around. And it's like, well, of course there's not enough. If you're hoarding resources, if you're unwilling to share, then no, there's not enough for everybody because you've taken off a larger share than you're supposed to. But so like I understand why people compete. People are competing for attention. They're competing for capitalism.
Mm,
Um, and they're competing for the right to self-esteem and to feel good about who they are. So I guess they're competing for identity within this system,
mm,
particularly to not identify as somebody that's at the bottom of what the system has to offer. Because the people at the bottom are the ones that are going to get the most harm to come their way. They're going to be the one that is most disregarded, the most harmed, and just overall, just the people who we don't always see as people. So people, I think,
mm,
in many ways are fighting for humanity, but they're fighting for humanity by way of what the white supremacist male dominated delusion says,
mm,
which really does nothing but serve to harm us. So it should not be our measuring stick, but we
mm.
still use it to measure.
Right. And would you agree with the statement, people don't realize that they are using it to measure? That they're not realizing that they've been conditioned to use that as their measure, you
Yeah,
know?
it's intended to be invisible. So
Mhm,
it's very difficult for people to see that what they're using as their measuring stick.
mhm,
People will just be like, "Oh, I'm just trying. I just know I'm better than that." I'm like, "Well, what's that? What's the
mhm,
that you're supposed to be better than? And
mhm.
who is the one that told you that you're supposed to be better than whatever that thing is?
Right.
And could you not be doing as best as you could in that because you're not actually interested in it? You're actually interested in this."
Right.
Right? So it's like I think about my parents who instilled in me doctor, lawyer, engineer. Those were the choices
Mhm,
for occupation growing up. Doctor, lawyer, engineer. I don't
Right.
like blood. That was never gonna work. So doctor, out. Engineer, I do not have the mathematical prowess in order
Mhm.
to be an effective engineer.
Mhm.
That was also gone. So what it left me with was lawyer.
Mhm.
And could I have been a good lawyer? Absolutely. Would I have been a happy lawyer? Probably not.
Mhm.
Would I have quit being a lawyer? Very likely. Right? Like it wasn't what I wanted. It was what they wanted for me. And somebody is always defining what we're supposed to want. And a lot of us are using our lives as a measuring stick to see
Mhm.
whether or not we've met whatever that expectation is without looking at what the expectation is and why that expectation exists. It took me a long time to recognize that my parents were clocking things under doctor, lawyer, engineer. Number one, because that's what most immigrant parents will do, doctor, lawyer, engineer. But the why behind it is because, well, doctors, lawyers, and engineers are also well respected in their fields. And
Right.
people have an idea of the education that it takes to get into those fields and to do well in those fields. And as far as I know, those fields pay pretty well, right? It's consistent, it pays well, there's respect. And that's like, it took me a while to understand that that's what my parents wanted for me. That it's
Right.
not the job itself, it's the idea of the financial stability and security, as well as the respect that those type of jobs command.
Mhm.
Right. So once I understood that, I could let go of doctor, lawyer, and engineer because number one, I wasn't going to do it. It wasn't going to work. But also, it helped me to understand that what they really wanted from me was my security. What they wanted from me was my wellness, and that I can chart a different path to getting it. A lot of us are not examining what someone is asking us to do or why. We're just sort of going with it because they are placed in a position of authority. So like parents are naturally some way an authority figure. We'll listen to someone with a PhD or any other type of doctorate or juris doctorate or whatever. We're listening to people based off their education, but all these people don't know you personally. All these people haven't talked to you. All these people don't know what you want. And high key, low key, a lot of people don't know what they want either.
Right.
So I usually tell clients to go back and make a list of 100 things. I
Wow.
want
100.
100 wants. And I want you to write it in one sitting, not in several sittings, in one sitting. Because somewhere along the way, you're going to have to dig deep. And you might actually realize that a lot of the things that you want are not even things that you've been pursuing, that you've been doing a really great job of living your parents' dreams or living the dreams that somebody else gave to you, not the ones that you have for yourself.
Mhm.
So if you don't know yourself, you can't esteem yourself. No self-concept, no self-esteem.
Yes, we do make it sound simple. Yeah, I mean, but what I would like anybody listening, watching to take from that, what Donna just said, is if Donna and I can do the journey, so can you. I mean,
Yes.
it really is. Yes, it's overwhelming. Yes, it's annoying. Yes, you're gonna have roadblocks. Yes, you're gonna have naysayers and all that. But the journey that you're taking to be better, to be happier, to be comfortable in your skin isn't for other people. It's for you.
Yes, that part.
Mm.
And I mean, to something that you said earlier about it, like it sounds simple. I like to remind people that simple ain't easy. Something can be simple, but that doesn't make it easy to actually do.
Right,
The simplicity of learning yourself is not made any easier by life circumstances.
right.
The idea of applying the knowledge that you have about yourself is not made easier with what you have to do in a regular day. Um, so much of this has to be prioritized by you, programmed by you. It has to be done by you. And while it may be simple processes, so to speak, it's not necessarily easy processes. There's a lot of thinking involved, a lot of feeling involved, and quite frankly, a lot of people don't want to know all the things. They don't want to, because then you would feel responsible for your own life. And regardless of whether or not people want to say it, we all say, like, a lot of us will say that we're adults. Some of us will say that we are grown. But where it comes right down to it, a lot of us are not ready yet to be taking full accountability for the very lives that we lead. Taking that type of accountability means that when you do harm, there's no one to blame, right? You wouldn't say, well, you made me do any more than you would say, like the devil made me do. You wouldn't say it. You have to sit in the uncomfortability, the discomfort of knowing that you have caused someone else harm. You would have to take responsibility for that. You would have to ask for forgiveness for that and know that you may not receive it and that that person may never want to be in a relationship with you again. A lot of people are not willing to take accountability for our own lives. And I understand. There's
Yeah.
something very alluring, kind of sexy about not taking responsibility. If we can say that we're doing the things that our parents wanted us to do, then it means that whether or not we're happy in life, whether or not we're successful in life, is now according to them. Like if we fail, then we can say, I never wanted to do this in the first place. I never wanted to live like this in the first place.
Right.
If and even with self-esteem, right? Like
Right.
we can say, I don't have self-esteem because of you, because of the way you showed up with me. But I'm asking people to take accountability. And I know that that's hard, right?
Mhm.
Like it's simple, but it's hard.
Mhm.
And at some point, if you decide to take accountability for your life, then that means that you're also responsible for cultivating it, for sculpting it, for moving it forward, for actually trying to get the things that you want, even if it's outside of what various isms say. Like they can tell you that people with money are worth more. They are not worth more. They have more. They have more.
Right.
And they're not worth more.
Right.
But if you want to hold on to that idea, then you're going to keep working like a person trying to find their self-esteem in their next paycheck.
Mhm.
And it's up to you. In the end of the day, no one gets to choose your life but you. You get to choose it alone. And personally, I ain't finna fight you.
Well, I think one lesson that always repeats for me that I always need to remind myself is when I'm an honest person. I mean, that's just how I am. I'm gonna tell everybody the truth. I don't skirt around anything. Sometimes I might be a little more blunt than I should be. Um, but I live in that truth, and in that truth is my integrity. So when I tell you I'm going to do something, and then of course I do it, no ifs, ands, or buts. But then when the other person does the same thing and says they're going to do something and they don't, that is difficult for me because I'm like, wait a minute, I'm showing up, I'm doing, but you're not. So, and then I have to sit there, and I do take it personally when it happens. And then I'm realizing I have to sit back and go, wait a minute, that's like me. It's not, I shouldn't be hurting, feeling pain. Yes, I can understand the disappointment in it, but
Yeah.
truly the disappointment is I'm expecting other people to behave like I do, but they don't, and I'm okay with that. I have to be okay with that and go on. Does that make
That is
sense?
hard.
Yeah, yeah,
Like not taking things personally it's difficult. Like it's
yeah,
again one of those simple processes, but difficult to actually to
right,
put into practice.
right.
Um, So what I started doing is I would give myself a story as to why this thing is not actually about me, so that I
Mm-hmm.
would remind myself that I may be the center of my world, but I am not the center of someone else's world.
Mm-hmm.
So I will make up all kinds of scenarios. So for me, one of the things, like in a car, somebody cuts you off. A lot of us, we personalize it. We're like, you did this to me because you don't like me. You are rude to me. I I depersonalize it. I'm like, ooh, there's a pregnant person in the back of that car and they are trying to get to the hospital. I'm like, it doesn't matter what story I tell. What
Right,
matters is that I remember that someone else doing what they're doing has very little to do with me,
right.
that it's not about me. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that that's part of like minding our business.
Yeah,
Like sometimes we are giving ourselves stories that are so steeped in falsities that we couldn't fight our way out of the paper bag that we have found ourselves in.
mm-hmm.
So I mean, we get stuck for no good reason other than we've decided to personalize what someone else does and make what they do about us. I'm like, another person can drink water. That's not gonna hydrate your body.
Right.
You have to drink your own water. You have to do your own work.
Mm-hmm.
And quite frankly, too many of us are looking at other people to do their work so that
Mm-hmm.
we don't have to do ours. But we
Mm-hmm.
won't call it that. We'll just say that we want them to get better.
Yeah. So tell us a juicy story before we end the podcast on anything sex related as in your profession. Like tell us the funniest story, the oddest story, and do it. Obviously, you can't name names or anything, but just generically, do you have one? Do you have one that always comes to mind that you say to yourself, wow, I'm happy they shared that, but yeah, I'm shocked. Do you have
Honestly, I feel like I don't have one. I I cannot think of one off the top of my head. Hmm.
how
Nope,
about
I'm drawing a blank.
how about do you have what your favorite thing is about saying if you do say to people that that's what you do for a living? I don't know how you introduce yourself, so
Ooh. Um, Usually, depend. I feel like I have levels to how I introduce myself
okay.
because of how people behave. Like there was one time I was in an Uber. I think it was in Atlanta at the time. I was in an Uber and the person asked me, "Oh, what's going on where you're going?" I'm like, "Oh, it's a conference." And they were like, "For what?" I'm like, "Oh, we're all sexuality professionals." This man was just like, "Oh, I got questions." And I was just like, dang, that's one of those times where you probably keep that you are a sex therapist, you keep it to yourself.
Right.
Because this person, he done took the scenic route to get to our destination so that he could get basically what amounted to free therapy. Not
Yeah,
even free because I'm paying for the ride.
right, right,
So
right.
I'm paying him to what, pick my brain about his sex life.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
So, on certain places, I have become way more careful about introducing myself as a sex therapist. Like, I won't
Mhm,
do it on a plane, for example,
mhm.
because that seat is your seat, which means that that person is probably going to talk to you the entire flight. And if that was not what you intended, then you should be quiet.
Yes, yeah.
So I learned to be careful over the years because of how the information is taken. Because some people will be like, and another thing, what you do is wrong and salacious, and yet I got a question. So
Yeah.
I just try to avoid all the foolishness by just being like, yes, I'm a therapist. Sometimes I won't even say I'm a therapist. Sometimes I'll say I'm an educator.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, but without the sex work.
Yeah, leave the
Yeah,
sex part alone.
yeah. But isn't that sad that we can't do that? No, I've been there. I understand what you mean. You know, that you once I've said it out loud, people go, oh, really? And I'm like, oh, here we go. You know, so. And I'm like, wait a minute, I wouldn't be proud and kiss the whole mission is to make it so you can say that completely. But as you know, there's a backfire. You get either somebody applauding it, yippee, or you get somebody going, and I'm just like, but hopefully within time, currently not this time, but hopefully in time, that will be different. So,
Keep my fingers crossed on the time.
yeah. So thank you very much for being a guest today. We'll
Thank you
put
for
your
having me.